Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So it is chapter number 2 and it's part 3. So in previous chapters we are taking that how we can generate carbon double bond carbon. This is another way to generate carbon double bond carbon, means from 1 to diol. So in this chapter we are going to take alkenes from 1 to diols, and the most important thing is the formation of alkenes from alkynes, right? There are very general ways to form alkenes from alkyne, we all know about them, but we will take only the difficult ones which can create some difficulties, right? So we will take only them. So alkenes from 1 to diol. 1 to diol means we have two OH group at 1 and 2 position, right? So we have multiple ways to do this process, but right now we are taking the reaction which is known as Corey-Winter reaction. There is no need to remember the name of reaction, right? But you can simply understand the process. Here we are using here thiophosgene. Phosgene is COL2, right? This is the structure of phosgene. But when we are using thio word means we have to replace this oxygen with sulfur. One thing is thiophosgene. Secondly, we require a triethyl phosphite, or we can use this diazophospholidine, right? This is the structure of diazophospholidine, and when we are using this diazophospholidine instead of trialkyl phosphite, another possibility is you can have trialkyl phosphite, triethyl, trimethyl, any type of phosphite can be present, or we have this diazophospholidine. So under this condition, when we have this molecule, we need comparatively lower temperature than trialkyl phosphite, right? So what will be the reaction mechanism? That first this thiophosgene will react with this 1,2 diol. How it will react? These two H will be replaced by this reacted with these two Cl to form HCl, and this part will attach here, right? This is the intermediate you will get. Then because of temperature and this trialkyl phosphite or diazophospholidine, this part will show break of bonding like this. This bond will shift here, this will shift here, and you will get a double bond at this position. So this reaction is stereospecifically syn type, means these two OH should be on the same side. For example, in this case, these two OH are not on the same side. One is above the plane, other one is below the plane, right? So we have to rotate this carbon to make this OH below the plane, or we can rotate this one. Anyone can be rotated, but simple thing is you have to place these two OH in the same direction. So the important point about this reaction is to remember this point, right? Remember this one, otherwise mechanism is very easy. So when I will rotate this carbon, this OH will go below the plane. Now I can remove these two, so we will get here Z alkene. Next, in next case, we have two OHs on the same side, right? So we don't have to rotate any carbon, they are on the same side, so syn removal can be possible. So in that case we will get E alkene. Next we will take an example given in the book where they have used a different type of reaction to do this syn removal of 1,2 diol. This is entirely different from the method which we have discussed yet. So this is a little bit different but very easy, that two OH are present here at 1,2 position and you are using aldehyde and acidic condition. So you know that it will form easily acetal, right? So means you will get this type of, I will not draw the rest part, you can easily understand that we will get this type of acetal here. This is for only this part, right? In next step I am using a butyl lithium molecule. So this butyl lithium will remove this proton which is highly acidic close to 2 oxygens, right? So when I will remove it, we will get a negative charge here. In next step, this negative charge will shift here, this bond will shift here, and it will shift here. it will shift on oxygen, right? So what you will get a double bond at this. So this type of reaction can also be possible. The reaction pathway is very simple. Then we move to the most important part of today's discussion, that is formation of alkene from alkynes. So we will take different methods to generate alkenes from alkynes, and these different methods will form Z alkene and E alkene. So we are going to discuss how we can generate a specific type of alkene which we want, right? So the one method is very simple, that when we use palladium, calcium carbonate in presence of lead acetate, or we can have quinoline. This is basically, these two are basically used as a poison. Poison means they decrease the rate of reaction. To slow down the reaction rate, they are used lead acetate or quinoline, right? So this catalyst is known as Lindlar catalyst, and we know that this will give us Z alkene. This is very common and famous type of example. We also know about the sodium in liquid ammonia, right? So when we will use this sodium in liquid ammonia with alkynes, it will give us E alkene. It is stereospecifically give us E alkene. We also know about this. Then suppose this is your alkyne and we are using here sodium in liquid ammonia, and sometimes you can also see that there is ammonium chloride present in the reaction mixture. Then you will get this E alkene, and this alkene is stable in nature. It will not further react with sodium in ammonia to form saturated hydrocarbons, right? So this is very important, that carbon double bond is unaffected by sodium in liquid ammonia. Only triple bonds, stereoselectively triple bond will react, right? So this point is important to know, and this one is important, that E alkene will be formed. Then next point comes that what is the use of this ammonium chloride? Generally it is used when we have terminal alkynes. Terminal alkynes means when we have this type of triple bond. Next to this triple bond we have only hydrogen present. Terminal means at the edge of molecule, you can say there is a triple bond. So we have only hydrogen here. So what is the possibility that if we are not using this ammonium chloride, this carbon will form acetylide with this sodium. Acetylide means you can have this one, acetylide. This is the possibility, and because of this negative charge, this reaction will not go further. How? Because we know that when we use the sodium in ammonia, this basically generate electrons, right? If you remember the reaction mechanism, which I have not told you here, but we have discussed it many times in Claydon book summary also. So that is why I have not discussed it here, that this mechanism goes by single electron transfer like this, that first we have to generate this type of radicals, and on them, these radicals, electrons from this sodium in ammonia attacks, and then it forms negative charge, then on which we can attach a proton from the reaction mixture. Means we get a negative charge here, then we can use ammonia, and on this ammonia, from this ammonia, this you can say that it is a radical anion. This radical anion can take proton, and we have H attached here. In next step, this radical takes one more electron and it forms negative charge, then it will take proton, right? In this way this reaction goes on. But when we have acetylide here, means a negative charge here, this negative charge repels electron, right? So it doesn't allow electron to come near it. That is why the reaction is not possible. Further reduction stops. But when we use ammonium chloride, this reaction is possible. So what is the use of this ammonium chloride? To make this reaction more feasible, right? So in that case we can have E alkenes, terminal E alkenes, right? So we have one more example here. In the first step we are using NaNH2 in ammonia simply, right? There is no ammonium chloride in the reaction. So when we have this NaNH2 and ammonia, it will first react with this terminal alkyne. When it will react with this, it will form this acetylide, right? Now this acetylide will not allow further reaction to go on, means there is no reaction with this triple bond, it will remain unaffected, right? In next step we are again using one more sodium and one molecule of sodium and ammonia. Then this internal alkyne will react first, right? We have this one. Then in next step we are using this ammonium chloride. So this ammonium chloride will convert this acetylide into alkyne. If we have one more molecule of sodium and ammonia, then this reaction may be possible, but it stops at this level only, right? Then we can use hydroboration. Hydroboration, we are very familiar with hydroboration, that we can use organoboranes for this purpose, and we can have different type of organoboranes, catechol and many other. So we will take detail of boron compounds in reduction chapter, right? So we are only going to take a little bit part, basically the conversion of alkyne to alkene in this section only. When you are using this organoboranes, there is syn addition of hydrogen and boron, right? One important point is this, there is syn addition of hydrogen in boron. Second important point is alkynyl boranes are highly reactive, means we have seen that when we are using this sodium in liquid ammonia, the reaction stops at alkene level only, there is no further reaction. But in case of boron, it is not possible. These alkaline boranes are very reactive, and we have to use some chemicals to convert in them into the molecule, into the product which we desire, right? So suppose we are taking this example. So in first step I am using a organoborane. So we know that there is syn addition, means this type of these two ethyl will go on the same side, and hydrogen will go on this side, and boron will go on the same side of this hydrogen, right? Then this is very reactive, this is our alkynyl borane, right? It is very reactive, and in next step we are using acetic acid. So this will be replaced by H, so we will get this one as final product. Next section is very important, that first we are generating alkaline borane, then we are using this iodine in presence of NaOH. We can have NaOH, or we can have sodium methoxide or ethoxide here, right? There can be possibilities. So first step is we have to generate alkaline borane, right? Then we are using I2 and NaOH. So this reaction is very important, so be careful about this one. So I2 means we have this iodine, so it will add with this double bond, and its addition will be like this, it will form this iodinium ion, right? Now you can easily see that this butyl group and this borane part is anti to each other, they are anti to each other, so they can occupy opposite planes like this, and two hydrogens will go like this, right? In next step we are using NaOH. So this OH minus will attack on this carbon, this boron, it will attack on this boron. When it will attack on this, then 1 R from this boron will shift here, it will shift here, and this bond will break, right? Because it is unstable structure, so it has to break. And when it will break, what you will get, that this I will go here, and this R from this boron will occupy the position anti it, right? And this butyl will remain as such, H will remain like this, and this boron part is like this, right? We will get this structure, right? So you will get this structure. At this stage we don't need to remember anything, but after this we need to remember that there is anti-elimination of this boron and I. In this reaction there is anti-elimination of I and boron. So in this case anti-elimination is not possible because I is in the plane and B is coming out of the plane. So we have to rotate this carbon. Suppose this is carbon number 2. So we have to rotate this carbon number 2. How we can do this? That initially we have R in downward side and this boron is upward, means we can draw it on the right hand side, and this H is going below the plane, so we can draw it left hand side. Now we have to place this boron in place of R, so we will rotate it like this. So R will occupy the place of H and H will come in place of boron and boron will come in place of R. So in this structure we can write it like this. This carbon will remain as such. Now H will come above the plane and R will go below the plane like this. So we can do anti-elimination. So when we will do this anti-elimination, what we will get? We will get a double bond here, and this butyl group and this R, which is migrated from this boron, right, which is migrated from this boron, are on the same side. Both are below the plane. So we will get Z alkene here. So this reaction is very, very important. There is one more example given in the book based on same type of mechanism. I will write it here. This you can consider it as a question if you want to try. This is our alkaline borane, right? So you have to treat it with iodine in presence of sodium methoxide. So try to find out the product. Doing this whole same mechanism, you have to find out this one without looking the final product in the book, right? So try to do this one. Why I am saying this reaction is important? Because same type of questions has been come in the NET examination. Next question is treatment of alkynylic boronic acid with NaOH(I2) and Br2 in presence of sodium methoxide. This question is from GATE 2020, I think. The same question has been asked in GATE 2020, but this time we are using alkynylic boronic acid, right? So what is the difference between alkynylic borane and alkynylic boronic acids? Suppose we have this example. We are treating this alkyne with this catechol, right? So when we will treat it, the same type of same addition of hydrogen and boron part will take place. So we will get this structure after hydrolysis. You will get this one. This is called your alkynylic boronic acid. Now we will take these two reactions on this molecule. So first we will take A. A means we are going to use first NaOH, then this I2. So it is different from the previous mechanism, right? And so due to this reaction, first this OH minus will attack on this boron, right? And then we will get, right? So in next step it will attack on iodine and this bond will break. So we will get retention in configuration. 99%, you will get greater than 99% is E alkene in this. So be careful that whether you have this iodine or halide before NaOH or after NaOH, right? For example, in this case, first we are using this Br2, then sodium methoxide. So what will happen? First this bromine will form brominium ion with this alkene. We should draw it like this, that when we will get this brominium ion first, and because these two are attached on opposite sides, so suppose this hexyl group is below the plane, this part will come above the plane, right? In next step, one more Br will attack on this carbon, this bond will shift here. There is anti-addition of these two borons. In next step, this sodium methoxide will attack on this boron, right? But there should be anti-elimination of this boron and this bromine in this step. There is anti-elimination of this boron and bromine. we have seen this step here, there is anti-elimination of these two group, right? So same step will take place. Now we again have to rotate this carbon to place this boron in place of this bromine, right? So when we will rotate it, again you can see that here we have bromine, on above the plane side we have hydrogen, on the above the plane side I have boron, and below the plane side I have hydrogen, which is not shown here but it is below the plane, right? So I want to place this boron in place of bromine, right? So when I will rotate it, what I will get, this one. So H will come above the plane, bromine will go below the plane, right? And this boron part will come in the opposite side of this bromine. So we can do easily anti-elimination of it. So when we will do its anti-elimination, the final product I am writing down here. So this hexyl group and this bromine are on the same side, right? And when they are on the same side, means we will get Z alkene type product here. So this mechanism is very very important, and you have to be very careful about that iodine or Br2 is using first or after MuH or sodium methoxide. This is very very important point, right? So in that case you will get Z alkene. Then we will take use of diisobutyl aluminum hydride, DiBAL. So when we are using this DiBAL, there is syn addition of first this isobutyl aluminum hydride. How? That these two will remain on the same side like this. The hydrogen from this isobutyl aluminum hydride will go this side and it will go like this, right? In next step, suppose I am using this iodine, so this part will be replaced by iodine, or you can use any other electrophile here. We can use aldehydes to attach OH here, or we can use different type of electrophiles. So there is again retention, that I will take place the position of this isobutyl aluminum, right? And what is the important point about this reaction is there is syn addition. If you remember these things, then you can easily do the problems. Suppose I have this lithium hydrido diisobutyl methyl aluminate. It is formed by treating diisobutyl aluminum hydride with methyl lithium. When we treat these two, we will get this one. And when we are using this reagent in the reduction process, then there is anti-addition, right? So for example, in this case I am using this lithium hydrido diisobutyl methyl aluminate first, so there is anti-addition of, right, we will get this one. Then we are using CO2 and then we are doing its acidic hydrolysis. Simply we have to attach carboxylic group here, right? Similarly, again you can use different type of electrophiles. You can use iodine, you can use aldehyde to have alcohols here, you can use acid chlorides, right? So we will get this one. But in this case we are using, they are differently used, right? They are not together to give you this lithium hydrido diisobutyl methyl aluminate. We are not using it, we are using first diisobutyl aluminum hydride. So there is again syn addition. Syn addition means you will get this type of product here, right? So be careful about the reagent used. Then last and very very important example is use of lithium aluminum hydride. So you can see this type of example in NET. This type of question has come in NET examination, and I think it is in 2018 or 19. You can check this one. So what are the conditions that when we can use lithium aluminum hydride? We know that lithium aluminum hydride cannot reduce a triple bond all alone, right? It cannot affect it. But most important position of triple bond when it can be reduced is when it is propagylic position. Propagylic alcohol means we have carbon triple bond carbon, then CH2 and then this OH. you can consider it like as a allyl alcohol, but in place of allyl double bond you have here triple bond. It is your propylylic alcohol. Or we can use NH2 group here also. In presence of NH2 it can also show reduction. Lithium aluminum hydride can show reduction. So first important point is that mostly this reaction is observed for propylylic alcohol. Second important point is there is anti-addition. There is anti-addition of electrophiles which we will use in this reaction. Right. So when we have anti-addition means, for example in this case, this R will go like this. Suppose on the upper side, this will be your double bond, and this part of this carbon chain will go in the anti position. There will be anti-arrangement, right? And then we are using this iodine. So this 1H from this lithium aluminum hydride can attach at this place, and I can attach at this place. But if you can see that in these two examples, we are using lithium aluminum hydride, sodium methoxide. Iodine and temperature conditions are same in both of them, but here we are using sodium methoxide, and in this case we are using aluminum chloride. So these two conditions are different. So remember this one, that when you have sodium methoxide with lithium aluminum hydride as in A condition, then your I will attach at 3 position, means you will get 3 iodoallylic alcohol. From this propylylic alcohol, after reduction we have allylic alcohol. So at 3 position we have to attach I, means this is 1, 2, 3. 3 position we will attach this I. We will get 3 iodoallylic alcohol. And when we are using this aluminum chloride, then we will get 2 iodoallylic alcohol. Means again we have to first draw the anti position of these two, because anti addition is must for this reaction. Then the position of I will be second with respect to this OH, means we will get 2 iodoallylic alcohol. Right. Next we will take one more important reaction, that when you have such type of complex structure, then there is possibility that you can get confused, right? So most important thing is how to solve this. Write down this part as R, right? Then you are using this lithium aluminum hydride and sodium methoxide, then iodine. So first we will do anti-addition. Anti-addition means it will go like this, right? Then because we have here sodium methoxide, so there we will get 3 iodoallylic alcohol, means I will attach at this place. Then we are using this methyl cuprate. So simply this Me minus will occupy the place of this I, and we will get Me attached here. Now you can write down the structure of this R. How you will write down that? First write till this stage. We have come here. Then we have to place this double bond. We have 1, 2, 3 carbons here. So 1, 2, 3, and this OH will go like this. This is right. This will be the position of your double bond. It will go here, and Me will come here. There is anti-positioning of this chain and this chain, this carbon-carbon chain. Similarly, that we have seen here, that these two are anti to each other. Similar thing will apply here, that these two anti to each other. So you will get this one as final product. So I will end today's video here. I think this chapter will be useful to you because it includes very important and little bit complicated mechanisms. So be careful about all the steps and points which I have discussed here. You can write down the points which are important, right? Only that point can be written down, and then you can do these questions again and again. Then you will get familiar with these all, right? So thank you so much for watching. If you like my videos, please share my videos with your friends. Thank you.